Welcome to Jewelry Girl and the Diamond Guy, and today we're here with Emily Marchick.
Hello.
Hi, Emily. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me in this beautiful location.
We're so excited to hear what you have to say, to give us a little more insight of the auction world.
Excellent, excellent.
So, Emily, tell us exactly what an auction specialist job description is.
I'm a graduate gemologist, so I specialize in jewelry. I work for an auction house currently called Doyle, which is an auction house based out in New York. And I specifically work as a jewelry specialist in their jewelry department. But I go out and I meet different clients and I do appraisals and I work with different estates and I go to people's homes and I go to different cities and I travel to look at people's jewels and art and silver and coins and different things. So a big part of auction specialist is just going and meeting people and helping them figure out what they have and helping them figure out if they want to continue giving it on to the next generations in their family or if it makes more sense to put into auction. And people have different various reasons on why they want to sell or they want to keep it. But an auction specialist is really out there to guide you onto what has value to people and what is better to kind of keep within their own family.
Emily, how did you get started in the jewelry business?
Yeah, well, I've always wanted to be a treasure hunter. I mean, from very early on, when I was quite young, my parents collected crystals. They fell in love on Grateful Dead tour. And so we always had all these sparkly, beautiful crystals around my house. And I used to take them into the backyard and literally dig into the earth and hide them and then try to like rediscover them like I was, this miner.
So cool.
That was my pastime. So I always was interested in kind of sparkly, fun things. And then my family was always collectors of jewelry. My family came to California right before the gold rush, so gold was a significant part of my family history. And then they started collecting jewelry. They had all this beautiful jewelry, all these sparkly diamonds and rubies, and I always was the one who wanted like the oldest, kind of most unique looking jewelry thing. Now, one of the things I didn't talk about was my love for Egyptian revival. And this was actually a pin that I inherited from my grandparents. This one up here is from my personal collection. It has a dementoid garnet and a ruby and diamond inset. And here is from the May 14th Doyle auction. That is a citrine face with sapphires and inlaid wings of Horus wings. There's been a lot of different eras where people were interested in the Egyptian culture, the symbolism, the different artifacts that have been taken out. So throughout jewelry history, you'll see in different eras, this one in 1890, this one in 1920, jewelry has been influenced by it. But my grandmother was good friends with the owner of what was then Butterfields and Butterfields, which is a very historic California auction house. I grew up in San Francisco. And so I used to go into the auction rooms and I would sit there and I got the bug of seeing people with the paddles and the foam bidding and the excitement and just the history behind it. So I kind of always knew that I wanted to do some sort of history, and then I went to the GIA, and from there right away went into auction. It's fun. It's fun. And you get to meet cool people like you guys and interesting clients, and really you get to travel the world a lot and get to be involved with a lot of really fun things.
And is there anything that you've taken in that has really surprised you by either how much it's gone for or the fact that it didn't sell at all?
Totally. I mean, there are numerous things that have gone way over estimate that what I decided, oh my gosh, this isn't that pretty, who would want this? And then you get a bidding war, and it could be an international bidding war. Someone in Dubai, someone in London thinks it's the best thing ever. And then all you need are a couple people who really get attached to it, and they'll bid the number up. Now, my favorite surprises tend to be when you find jewelry and there's no signatures on there, there's no markings, and you take it back to the office and you feel it and you go, this has to be someone. This has to be something significant. And you do a little research and you contact different jewelry companies, and then you get to go into the archives and figure out like, oh, this is an unsigned piece by a certain jeweler, and you get to kind of bring the history back to the piece of jewelry. And that, I think, is one of the best parts of auction. So reconnecting it. Yeah. Have you guys bought stuff in auction?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. That is true.
Yes. I remember I was attending one of your auctions, and I was in the audience, and you had this incredible Art Deco pendant watch. Do you remember this one? And it sold for crazy amount of money.
Janice Fitch.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm in the audience, and I hear this whimpering, and I turn around, and there was 3 ladies, older, and they were crying, and I'm like, I bet they're the seller. And they were, and it went for
Yeah.
crazy money. And later I said, I am so happy for you guys. And she goes, you have no idea. We're so poor, and there's 5 of us, and this was our grandmother's watch, and it was in safe forever, and we thought we were going to get like 20,000. We're going to split it, and now we have 180,000
Yeah,
or
it
something.
sold for a lot of money.
Yeah,
And
I was so happy for them.
And that's some of the best parts of auction is, I've had experience last year where I got contacted by a monk.
Whoa.
Yes, whose grandmother passed away, and he had no attachment to material possessions at all, and said, I'd like you to help me sell these items. And his estate ended up selling, I think, over $200,000, and his whole monkhood and his whole thing that he works in got flooded with money, and they were able to use the money towards positive things. And that's the best thing, getting to call people the day after auction and say, oh, you thought it was going to sell for $5,000? Oh, it sold for $45,000.
Great.
And that's why people want to go to auction. I think that sometimes people are intimidated by selling at auction because you're like, oh, what if it doesn't go high? But the whole thing is, what if it does go high? You're not promised just one number. You're promised the opportunity of the competition that brings those high numbers. And that's really kind of part of the exciting part of auction, both for the buyer and the seller. Yeah. This is
Incredible.
incredible, and should be yours. This is a special piece that comes out of an estate from a Bloomsfield Hill, Michigan family. And it's David Webb. It has a Tahitian pearl and a big South Sea pearl and diamonds and rubies. And what's unique about this is not only that it's a double-headed snake that hinges open, but also it's old David Webb, and you can tell that it's older, late 1950s, early 1960s, by the fact the signature says full David Webb, not just Webb. And so that's usually a nice way to indicate that it's one of the older pieces. And so it's in pretty good condition for it being enamel, and it is in for $20,000 to $30,000.
That sounds very reasonable.
Yeah, I think so.
So you clearly have the passion. Because we have passion for what we do, and you do
Yeah,
yourself.
right?
Yeah.
It's not work.
Yeah, and I'm pregnant, and I'm naming my baby after gemstones. So I'm pretty sure I have I'm pretty sure I have the passion. It's happening.
Yes.
It's happening.